We're recording.
All right. Well, welcome to the uh, NACA Communication Awards seminar. We're going to talk about how to not get disqualified in your presentation or your application, and maybe even win. It's there's a lot of great things that are happening across the country in extension, and we've had to change a lot of what we're doing this past year too, and that's kind of opened up a whole new ball of wax for us. But we did make a few minor changes in um, the awards categories, descriptions, some of those kinds of things. We did make one fairly major change, and we're looking at some other things to kind of help. But for now, we want to make sure that as members, state chairs, and members, you've got the the tools in your hands or the knowledge in your hands to put in a good application. And so that's what we're trying to cover here today. So just kind of, I will do a real quick, this is our agenda. I'll do a little quick review of the timeline and something on the abstract guidelines and eligibility. And then
Ron,
yes.
Your screen is showing up partly cut off. So I don't know if you have a way to.
That may be from your view of things.
I'm not sure. Scott, can you comment? Can you see the whole screen?
No, it's cropped off.
Wonder what I've done different that I see the whole thing. Sometimes when that happens, your view, if you click up in the top right corner of your screen, there's a view option, and I don't know if that will help.
Oh, I don't know if you can like change your full screen setting or something. I'm not sure. It's very strange.
When I'm in presentation mode, it's hard to. There might be.
There it is. That looks right.
That's okay?
Yep, that one looks good.
So does that one look bad?
No, that's good.
Okay, I don't know what happened. Something happened. All right, technology. We're getting either better or worse at it. Who knows? So anyway, these are there have been 14 categories in the communications awards. Now there's 13. We'll talk about that just a little bit. And so that's what we'll cover here. And so the timeline. This is very important. Last year we did have a timeline adjustment because of the COVID situation. We did bump things back 2 weeks, but we're pretty strict on this. Well, we're very strict on this. March 15th, that's the deadline. Now, I'm not sure, it's probably March 15th because it goes back to Illinois. It's March 15th of your time zone. So we need to be strict on that. And of course, you know, Hawaii's got a lot different time zone than we have. And so it may not be 100%, but March 15th, that's when we cut things off. So that's when your applications are in. Now the state chairs then have until the 1st of April to get those judged at the state level, and they go onto the website and they approve those so that it will go from the state level up to the regional level. And they've got until April 1st to get that done. Some of them get it done really quickly, and some of them get it done by April 1st. But if you don't get it done by April 1st, and it's a state chair issue, we're not going to penalize individuals because that we'll have to get after the state chairs to make sure those get approved and moved up the line like they should. The next deadline is the regional judging needs to be done by April 15th. And those then, the regional vice chairs will approve those when they have to have their judges to get them done, and they'll approve those, and they should notify the participants. So back at the state level, again, each of the state chairs should be notifying all of the applicants whether or not they have been the state winner, or at least thank them for applying. They weren't the state winner, but let them know, let the members know that whether or not they've been moved up, whether they're the state winner moved up to the regional level. The regional vice chairs then would have the same responsibilities, and they have 12 or 13 states that they have to deal with. So they've got 12 or 13 people in each category that they would be judging. And so those regional vice chairs then should also notify their applicants, congratulations, you've been moved up into national category. And then national judging, we try really hard to get that done by April 30th. And if everything goes fine, that's when it gets done. And then I can notify the national finalists, and we don't notify the winners. We only notify the finalists. The winners are announced at the conference. Well, it's going to be virtual this year, and so it will be actually probably we'll have the presentation up and running. We'll see how things work out with the technology, but we'll have the presentation up and running for the conference, and that's when the national finalists, the national winners, will be announced in that. So we do have had one thing we did insert into the communications awards description, and also in the abstract guidelines, there's a statement at the abstract is written as a single paragraph. That's pretty much standard. It's a paragraph summary, one paragraph summary of what's to follow. And so that's we'd like to try to keep that way. Now, if you have 2 or 3 paragraphs, it's not going to disqualify you, but it will reflect poorly on your score. And a lot of times it's the score of the abstract that makes that work. So do that abstract, do that properly in a single paragraph. And now the eligibility, of course, you need to be a member in good standing and those kinds of things. There's another question, or attendance at the conference. In the past, we've required the national finalists and winners to be in attendance at the Communications Awards luncheon. Well, of course, we're not going to be having a Communications Award luncheon. And so, like it was last year, in order to receive your national finalist or winner awards, you will need to be registered for the conference. That's kind of where we're at, and the board hasn't told me any differently, and so that's where that will be. Okay, so let's, I will stop sharing, and we will go back to the abstract here. We've got Brittany, if you want to go ahead and take care of the audio recordings, you can share your screen. And
all right, can you guys hear me?
hear you just fine.
Oh, finally, my headphones weren't working.
Yay.
All right, so I need to be allowed to share my screen.
You get that, Scott? Brittany's screen sharing.
We need to be a co-host, is that right?
Yep, thank you. All right, now here comes the fun part. So let's see. Can everyone just give me a thumbs up if you can see this slide so far? And what about the transition? All right, awesome. So my name is Brittany Council Morton. I'm the 4-H and Ag agent for the City of Richmond, and I am serving as the Southern Region Vice Chair for Communications Committee. So Ron has already covered the basic information about the abstract, but we cannot stress enough, please make sure that you are adhering to all of the requirements within the abstract, because that does play a major part in the transition or the progression of your overall award. So when you're looking at the audio submissions, it doesn't have to be any longer than 15 minutes. If it's a segment or a piece of a bigger submission, please identify what part you start at in that overall process, so we can focus on just that, because you might submit a radio recording that might actually be 45 minutes and you may only have about 5 minutes of that. So if we don't know what part that we're supposed to judge, you could get dinged for the overall 45-minute submission, whereas you was just up there for 5. So again, it could be a radio program, a podcast. The images that you guys are going to see on the slides that we have are the award submissions for other individuals. Again, you can go on NACAA website and you can find them, and it's also the link for their award. But you have to make sure that the submission, you have to be a major contributor to the presentation. Again, abstract, you want to identify the date, time it was used, different stations, where it was recorded, and you can also submit it via MP3 or a URL as well. So that is it for audio submissions, and we will roll it over to the next person. I will stop sharing.
Okay, Iris, you got published photo.
Great. While I'm loading my PowerPoint, Ron, could you say if the abstract has a 100-word limit? I was looking for that on the website and I could not find
So
it.
the abstract is a 350-word limit, and the website will not allow you to submit something that's over 350 words. So that part of it's kind of fixed for you. I mean, it's there and ready to go. So
Are you seeing my 2 screens or my 1 slide?
2 screens.
How about now?
Good.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So I'm with University of Idaho, Latah County Extension, and I just wanted to put a couple of things about myself. I won a National Communication Award for my team in the learning module category. And so that was a few years ago, very fun. And so I just wanted to inspire you that you can do it too. So we're going to talk about photos. Here's some cute cows. So my number 1 tip is to log into the NACAA website early and often. And we try to encourage the state chairs to have a deadline of March 1st. So if you can put that March 1st deadline for yourself, then if there's any problems, so try to get your award application submitted by March 1st, and then that will just help you and your state chair in case there's any problems. Okay, so if you know your login and you can log in while I'm doing this presentation and you have enough bandwidth, go ahead and log into the NACAA website. Well, I'm going to go over the 4 scorecard criteria for photos. The first one is storytelling ability, and I tried to put in some interesting photos I use Unsplash for free photos, but if you're looking back through your own photos to see what you could submit for this category, something that you've used in your communications, does it contain all the necessary elements of a story? Are they in some sort of logical relationship? And is it free and distracting of unnecessary elements? This category of storytelling is 20 possible points of your 100. So keep that in mind. Okay. The second criteria is photographic quality. And so I included this one because it kind of shows that design layout of 2/3, 1/3. If you've taken a design class, they kind of talk about those proportions. And so you're thinking about that composition and the technical quality. So right now, I'd like you to, if there is chat, maybe we only have the Q&A, but if you have logged into the NACAA website, or you can make this your little homework, look and see what this photographic quality scorecard criteria number of points. So if you can put that in the chat. Okay. And the third criteria is impact. Does the photo capture the viewer's attention? Last spring, I was out on a walk, saw this double rainbow, and just thought it was kind of cool. So, you know, some impact. And again, in the chat prompt, how many points? Look up for yourself. How many points is this part of the criteria? Okay. And then the fourth criteria is were the instructions and the format for submitting your abstract followed? So again, you kind of want to look at how many points is this. If you don't do this correctly, you'll just get disqualified. So that equals 0 points for all categories. But if you can get through the system and then write a good abstract and describe how this photo was used, then that will help you win in the photo category. Okay, back over to you, Ron, or to the next, whoever the next person is. I'm not sure.
Okay, so one point again, if you have multiple photos, it's one photo. Captions are not judged like they have been in the past. The last couple of years we changed that. And also, if you on the Brittany thing, if you don't indicate the 15 minutes, you will get disqualified. It's more than a ding. You will be disqualified if we don't have that. So, okay, so let's see. Next is, well, we don't have Laura here online, and so I will talk about the computer generated presentation with script if I can find my website here. This is going to take me just a second here. So the whole point, this is your presentation computer generated with a script. And so let's look at, hopefully this won't be too small to see. I need to share my screen.
Ron, there's some questions in the chat box too, Q&A
Yeah.
box. So.
Okay, so in the event we're not notified of a winning state, regional, national finalist, when will results be available under the award winners page? Scott, you're gonna have to answer that one. I'm not sure exactly if that just doesn't show up until everything is all done for those.
The process ultimately is as the state chairs select their state winners, then that notification will go up. And then as they progress through the judging process, the different, as regionals are picked, those will be shown. The only ones that won't be shown until the very end would be the overall winners, which will be announced either during the virtual AMPIC at some time like we did last year. But typically that the deadline of, okay, if state chairs have until April 1st, shortly after that, assuming the state chairs do their judging like they're supposed to in time, after April 1st, you should know on the website whether we're the state winner and you're advancing on.
Okay. Good. So that'll let folks know that's the place to go for that. Next question out there is with audio submissions, can we use presentations that were recorded or videos that were used for our Facebook page for clientele? Now, videos should go under the educational videos category. Audio, the presentations are recorded, but they need to be an audio presentation aired somehow. It could be an audio on Facebook, but again, if it's an audio versus a video, then we're talking different issues. Your online presentation, podcast kinds of things go into an online presentation. Oh, cool. Laura's here. All right, Laura, you're up with the computer generated presentation with script. If you would like to, Scott, give her the panelist share ability, and if you'll cover that, then Laura. I was just about ready to cover it, but it's your ball now.
Okay, hang on one second. I apologize for that goof up. I actually had this on at 4 o'clock, so I was not even really that worried.
You could have been really late.
Really late. That seems to be the way it goes. Okay, hold on a second. I'm opening up. All right. Hi, everybody. Let me just put this on too. So I'm talking today about trying not to get disqualified from the computer generated presentation with script portion of the awards. And there's a couple of key things to make sure that you are aware of. One of the first is maximum of 50 slides can be submitted. So don't try to they're going to count the slides. We're all going to count the slides. So make sure it's underneath that maximum. The presentation should be uploaded in a PowerPoint or the PDF of whatever presentation format you use. So lots of other folks are using things different than PowerPoint. That's fine, but we need a PDF of that prior to be submitted. The presentations that are created with Adobe Presenter or other web conferencing or software like that, and if they're published online as recordings, those things should be submitted in this category. So that's just a clarification of what kinds of things might be kind of folded into that. Some examples are things that you might even put under YouTube as a video, but they are actually a kind of self-advancing kind of presentation, but it was put on YouTube. And if it's that kind of presentation, it should be here. The URL to that presentation should be included in the abstract. And I want to make sure that people understand that the abstract is a critical part of the entire application. So you really need to do that. And then the file size is 10 megabytes maximum. So that will be required. You have to stay below that. And I think it's a fairly straightforward bunch of directions. The script has to be included, and you can't, there's just an example of a script here, which is written. We don't want that. We want a script that's accompanies this, that is, in a normal word processed type of format. And I don't know if we have anyone that has questions. Can we answer questions right now?
We'll get questions in the Q&A. We don't have that ability in the webinars. So, okay, so the things that then would disqualify you in the computer generation, if you're over 50 slides and you don't indicate, if you can be over 50 slides, but you have to indicate these are the 50 slides I want to have judged with the script. That's fine. We don't want to have somebody have to go through 120 our judges. We don't need to be fair to those. The URL is, if the URL is not in the abstract, if you can't download the file and you don't provide a URL, then it will be disqualified, of course, because we can't see it. And the maximum size, you can be over the maximum size, but then you would have to have a URL because then you can't download it. Okay. All right. Thank you, Laura. We'll go ahead and you'll unshare your screen and we'll move on with Heather. You got the event promotional package.
How about now? So as we start talking about the event promotional package, this was a new category a couple of years ago. We kind of added a couple things together. Here's my favorite quote regarding anything posted online. I know you can't read all of this. No, I only put these two things up here because that's everything about the abstract, and that's the information about the entry that's available on the web page. So it's just there for a filler starter page. It's not that you need to read all of it, right? The things related to this category that we want you to think about, it's event promotion. So how did you promote your event and what did you accomplish? Some of the hangups that got caught last year was the big question on what's an event. We might have called it a program last year, and that might have been part of the problem with some of the confusion factors that we had. So we want to clarify that this is an event promotion. So your event is a crop meeting that you held on December 13th, or it's an estate planning series that you held 4 days, and maybe the same producers came, maybe different producers came, but that was your one event. It's a 4-H meets judging school. What it's not is your total Master Gardener program and everything that you did with your Master Gardeners over that year. Or it's not your whole estate planning effort. It's not the different articles that you wrote someplace. It's not the press releases you put out related to different topics and those types of things. It's about promoting this one event factor. So kind of keep that in mind as you're thinking about what that event was and how you promoted that event, not your program planning area. Those types of things will get you disqualified because you're not telling us about the events that you hosted. So the requirements as we go through, the abstract requirements for this category are the same as every other category with one exception. You don't have to tell us how the different pieces were prepared in this category because you're probably going to run out of room. By the time you tell us the objective and the purpose in detail, and so we understand what the event was and what you did, we need to leave you some space to do that and tell us how you distributed 3 different types of advertising or promotional materials. And then make sure that you follow the example of the abstract that we've provided on the webpage and in all the other things. The things over there in the category requirements that are going to get you disqualified is if you don't follow these components. When it says you need to submit 3 pieces of promotional materials, we mean 1, 2, 3 of those things. If you only submit 2, you get disqualified. If you submit 4, you get disqualified because we don't know which ones to judge, okay? So those different methods might be a mail or a postcard, some type of audio recording of a radio interview that you did. Maybe you utilized social media or you created a video. You put out a statewide press release. All of those are things that qualify for some of your promotional information as you go forward. And then you have to submit those pieces of information and those items in the required formats. They either need to be PDF files or MP4 files. And then again, that third bullet there is the links. If you put something on social media or you have your personal web page, or something is too big and it gets past that 10 megabyte category limit that for each of these different categories that we have. So you have to provide those. If we can't get into your links, make sure your links work and then nobody messes them up between submission and judging. If we can't get in there, you're disqualified because we can't find what we're supposed to be judging. All right, so make sure that we understand that. The other components of the category says, what's your contribution? So what did you do to create these different methods? You created the information and provided the information for your postcard to your state's communication department, and they developed the postcard for you. That's fine. You told us that what you did with that. How did you use it? I mailed it out to my mailing list of XYZ counties, master gardeners, so that they could attend. The last component down there is don't double dip. If you're going to enter an amazing video in this category, your amazing video cannot also be entered as a video for judging purposes. So don't double dip. And if you follow those main bullet points there, your entry in this category will not be disqualified. Might not get the most points on the abstract if you don't fill everything out good, but it won't be DQ'd straight off the bat, and you'll at least move to the next round of judging. That's what I have on this one, Ron.
You're next with the personal column too, Heather.
Oh, I guess I didn't follow the numbers. I'm sorry. I'll pull her back up. Is it still showing for you?
It disappeared, so you'll need to share screen again.
Okay, so related to the personal column then, again, just a filler page as we get started here. The purpose of this column is to highlight your writing and your topics. So you picked 2 of the best columns that you wrote. It has to be your column and it must be submitted by you. We really haven't had a lot of issues with, does this qualify as a personal column? If you write a weekly column for your local newspaper, that's your column. And that's pretty much what we're looking for at this point. So make sure that you have that kind of in the back of your mind as you're putting entries together for this. The abstract requirements are the same as everything else, the objective and purpose, how you prepared it. You typed it on your computer in a Word document, you submitted it via email to the local newspaper as a PDF file or maybe a Word document so that they could edit and change it as they needed it for formatting and those types of things. The things that get people kicked out of this category are missing those first 2 bullets. It's 2 columns from 2 different dates. So you wrote about taking care of baby calves when it got really cold here just this last week. And in 2 weeks, you're going to write about moving calves out to pasture and vaccinations that you're going to give them. Those were your 2 personal columns that you were submitting. We need to see and have files the way you submitted it to your newspaper. So the Word document, send us that. And we also need you to go to the newspaper, scan the finished copies so we can see that it was actually published and how your newspaper edited it or how they formatted it and those types of things. So we need 2 pieces of documentation for each of your 2 columns. So make sure you keep that in mind as you are entering into the personal column category.
Okay.
Done this time?
Yeah, for now. We'll get back to you. Laura,
right.
you're up with the feature story. While she's doing that, I'll go ahead and answer a couple of these questions online. Should we edit the recording to only the part we want judged? You can. You don't have to. If you're not going to do that, then, and it may not give you the full complete, or it may be pretty disjointed, whatever. So you can do that if you want it that way, or you can tell us which minutes to actually judge for. And okay, links to videos. Yes, links to videos will work fine if they're online in a YouTube channel, your university YouTube channel. The link to that video will be just fine. We'll get to the videos here in just a minute to maybe answer some of the rest of that. Okay, go ahead, Laura.
All righty. So feature story is pretty self-explanatory. Again, the most important thing is the abstract. Not the most important thing, but it seems like the thing that gets forgotten most frequently. So don't forget to do the abstract, follow it specifically for what the requirements are for each category. And the feature story, there is sometimes confusion. The feature story is a factual story that is not hard news, but is more kind of general interest type stuff. So a personal report about a person, event, or the aspect of a major event, and it has to be written by the submitter, obviously. In the abstract, indicate in the abstract the date of the publication. And then this is where we've messed up in New York before. You have to submit a PDF of the original copy of one article, that feature story, but you also have to submit a scanned copy of that feature story. So this little graphic shows you that when you scan a copy, whether it's from a major newspaper or whether it's from a magazine or whether it's in your extension monthly bulletin, it should have the date, it should have the title of the, whatever issue it was coming from. That should be recognized on that scanned issue. And you don't have to have all of these different subtitles, bylines, etc., but it should recognize that it was written by you and it has the date and the publication that it was printed in. So that's really all I have on that. I do want to just remind everybody that's in the Northeast that they can look to me for help, and then I will end up looking to my committee members because they have a lot more experience. But so that is some of the information that I have for that.
So let's cover that date thing really quickly. If your scan can't quite cover in and show that date, write the date on it. But also, most of these abstracts also say to include the date that it was actually published. So we want that date on there to make sure we're within the guidelines and everything. Okay, thank you, Laura. All right, Heather, back to you with the newsletter.
Oh no, where'd it go? How do you lose stuff when it's open on your computer already?
You might have to click the one that says see all or more.
Yeah, and it's hidden way down there at the bottom. Okay, so we talked about newsletters. I was on a phone call with the producer when the whole session started, so I apologize for being a couple minutes late. Not sure if Ron, if you covered the fact that we're changing this from individual newsletter and team newsletter to one newsletter.
I didn't cover that, no.
All right, so hey y'all, I covered that just now. We moved from individual newsletter and team newsletter to one newsletter, not to limit competition or to try to hinder anybody's competition, but to try to come up with a way that additional categories could be added to all of the communication components that we have. So This year, there is one newsletter category for you guys to enter into. So that's the biggest change here. We want to feature your work in a county, an area of emphasis, and whether that work is as a team or an individual. That part is the general purpose behind the newsletter feature here. So same requirements, your abstract. Why are you creating this thing? What do you use it for? How is it used? How do you prepare it? Where does the distribution go? And those types of things as we move forward. The key component here, again, is to make sure that you're telling us or showing us two different issues. If you're the livestock newsletter and it goes out statewide, you compile the information. I need to see, or all of us need to see, two different versions of that newsletter. So your livestock newsletter from January 28th and your livestock newsletter from June 14th. Featuring the different titles or the different things that you want to tell us about. We need to know who your target audience is and why they're your target audience for this group, and how you find them or how you're expanding your newsletter and those types of things is great information to include in that abstract. When, how many, and how distributed? Do you have a put it in the mail newsletter? You know, is it snail mailed, sent out? Is it an electronic only newsletter? Is it a combination of both? And if you use a combination of both electronic and mailed out, is it a different format? Or do you just print off and attach a PDF file to an email and that's how you send those out? Or are you using some of the other tools that are available you know, for electronic newsletter distribution? So this last bullet there says, what was your contribution? Did you write the articles? Did you compile the articles? Did you write some of them and other people send you other articles back and forth? You don't have to be responsible for 100% of the content in this category, because it could be you know, a team effort moving forward. But tell us what your job is on getting all the articles together, or, you know, what's your contribution as the applicant in the newsletter category. So if you only send us one issue, if you send us 3 issues, if you miss any of those main things on that's the biggest spot that people get disqualified, is you only send us one version of the newsletter here, or 3. That's the main DQ that occurs at this point. But to get better points, make sure you're hitting all of those things in your abstract, because you know, we can all do a lot of fun things with our computers these days to make our newsletters look great. So points in those other categories on appearance and verbiage and all those types of things with grammar related, those end up being pretty tight. Make your abstract stand out and show us and feature all of those main key bullet points there.
Okay, thank you, Heather. Let's see. Brittany, you want to get work put up on your educational video recordings? While she's doing that, I'll answer a couple more of these questions. Where does the development of podcasts fit in the categories? So not a specific episode, but the podcast as a whole. That would go under your website online content, Jennifer, for that one. With PDF or presentation work that has links to the recorded trainings. I'm assuming that's for the we haven't really addressed that particular question as far as recorded within a PDF or presentation for the computer generated presentation with script. So if someone else wants to jump in on that one, that would be helpful. David, if you've got some feedback on that. I don't know if David's got the ability to unmute himself, Scott, or not. Let's see, captions suffice. No, captions will not suffice for a script. You need a script written out, what you're going to be saying. That's the whole point there with that particular one. Okay, go ahead, Brittany.
All right, everyone can see this little PowerPoint thus far. Thank you very much. So far you guys have been hearing about us stressing about the abstract. And it is because 80% of the time, that's how folks get DQ'd. We get a lot of great work that comes in, nationwide. And a lot of times it comes down to, how did you do your abstract? Did you follow all the guidelines in the abstract that may put one person 5 points ahead of you, or one person 5 points behind you? So make sure you're really following up with that abstract. And on the site, on the NACAA site, you have the Communications Awards abstract for your general awards, but then you also have your abstract for each category. So make sure you're following both guidelines to get the most points on your scorecard as possible. But when you're looking at education, the video, again, we got to know, what is your contribution to the video? If you only spent 2 minutes of that video, then identify that in the abstract. If you actually help with the entire video from start to finish, and you have more of a section in there, more of a segment, please make sure you detail that in your abstract as well, because we want to see the work that you have done. This is your opportunity to really get your bragging rights in. And again, don't send anything that's over 15 minutes long, or if you do, identify what piece of the segment you want us to focus on. Again, abstract. We haven't really had any difficult entries for this particular category that got DQ'd on my end, because the videos were within the 15-minute reach. You guys adhere to the abstract. And if you have questions or any comments or concerns, what have you, please make sure that you reach out to your state chairs and regional chairs before March 15th. We are more than willing, well, before March 1st, as Iris said, we're more than willing to help you guys out, but we have to know, what do you need help with? And you have to really give us time to help you out. Anything really after that March 15th deadline that's it. So.
Okay. All right, we'll go back to Heather. I'll try to answer a couple more questions here. This is the fact sheets, Heather, if you'll want to do that one. Let's see. Can script be on the notes of the slide? Yes, just be sure you indicate in your abstract that the script is on the notes of the slide. That's fine. We just want to have those script there with the slides, and that's a great way to do that. So that's a good point there. Presentations they don't need to be a video recording. The presentations along with the script is what you need. PowerPoint with the script along the side. Yes, Shan. Okay, go ahead, Heather.
Okay, whoops, too many clicks. So we're gonna next talk about the fact sheet and the publication. They're in order in the book, and I get them both. So here's what we're gonna do with fact sheets. Hang on a little bit. The biggest thing about the fact sheet, and it's written in the description, is that it's a topic knowledge sheet. So the hangups on this one include, what's a single subject? So I tried to come up with some examples there to get you thinking about that single subject conversation back and forth. So single subject, it's protein supplementation in the wintertime, not cow nutrition, where you cover a lot of topics related to cow nutrition. It's about using a trust in your farm transition plans. It's not estate planning for tools. Okay, so it's that single topic thing that really hones in on something. The next biggest thing, and probably where 99% of our questions come in, is what counts as a page. Okay, I don't know how many of those questions come in, but what counts as a page? Is it the front? Is it the back? What if I print it on ledger size paper? Here's a hint. Turn on your page counter on your Word document as you're writing it, and have it automatically apply page numbers. And once it gets to 4 pages, it can't be any more than 4 pages to count as a fact sheet. Okay, 4 pages. So one side of an 8.5 by 11 paper is 1 page. Front and back is 2 pages. If you print it out on a ledger sheet of paper and fold it in half, now you have 1, 2, 3, 4 pages, right? It's a 1-page handout, or it's a single sheet of paper handout, but it's 4 pages for your fact sheet. So those are the big things where we see different issues with page numbers. So if we're all on the same page, turn your page counter on, and then we can kind of move forward from there. All right. So the big things, that's what gets people disqualified in this category. As you're thinking about writing that abstract down, tell us about your audience, tell us about the purpose, how many of them were distributed and how, did you utilize them at different meetings? Did you post it on the web page and it was downloaded this many times? How did you make that happen? You can submit your fact sheets in one or of two different ways. It can either be submitted as a PDF file, no bigger than 10 megabytes, or send us the link. Make sure that we have a working link for these fact sheets. I thought I saw a thing that somebody's hand was raised.
It was mine. One of the questions in the box, the Q&A box, was someone's specific university, the disclaimers make the fact sheet run over to 5 pages. So are we looking at 4 pages of solid information or 4 pages to include any university indicia statements?
I personally would say 4 pages is 4 pages is 4 pages.
I think then we're getting into publication category.
Yeah.
Whatever makes it drop over into 5 pages, it's 5 pages. Let's keep it clear.
But let's keep page numbers, since we can't figure out what a page is sometimes. Let's just keep pages as pages. And I'm sorry if your university has half a page of disclaimers that they have to put at the end, and that puts you into the next category. So good question, but as long as we're all on the same page, plane, level playing field, whatever you want to call it, we all know the answer now. All right. So that's the point of the fact sheet. It's a single topic. It's no more than 4 pages. You can fill that 4th page up all the way to the very bottom and the last dot, but 4 sheets of paper. Okay, 4 pages. Use your page counter on in your Word document. Then when you go to the publication, I'm just going to roll into that, Ron, because that's what's next, right?
Yeah, you're next, right?
Okay. This gets to be more in depth than what your fact sheet was. So it's 5 or more pages as you move forward. So this can be your multiple topics. Maybe your topic is cow supplementation and you talk about protein. You talk about the best ways for micronutrient use. You talk about salt and what they need to do when they're putting out salt and those types of things. Maybe it's related to business entities for farmers and ranchers. So you're covering LLCs, FLPs, corporations, and finding an attorney in your publication. Okay. So again, the page number is what kind of got people disqualified from before, because they wouldn't have enough pages in this one when they called it a publication. And the answers are the same now. We've now identified what a page is, and we have that readily available for everybody there. Trying to think if there's anything. So the next question that would logically follow is, what makes this not be a book? If you can't tell the difference between a publication and a book, they're different, right? But books are usually bound. This one's not going as full as a book. So make sure your books are more extensive, I think, is how it's written in the actual description. But I mean, if you're up to a 20-page fact sheet or a 20-page publication and you put a binder on it instead of just a staple, maybe you have a book instead, so a bound book. So that's going to be part of your, you need to make that call, where it fits, what it fits, how you use it, and those things back and forth.
We'll need to discuss a little bit more here in the future, the difference between the publication and the books, and we'll get more clarification this next year. But at this point, we do have, well, we'll get to the books here in just a minute. So there are a couple more questions. Let's see, we're at to website, online content. Brittany, you're up on that one. Sarah, you asked, can it be promoting one youth team? I'm assuming this is the event promotion package, encouraging folks to sign up. That's not an event. That's something different. And so, no, I wouldn't consider that one to be an event promotion package. Now, if you're promoting a youth know your government program and you're promoting that event, then that's different. But encouraging recruitment does not fit under the event promotion package. And then there's another one here. We've got different answers from different people. Been told it's kind of a gray area. Has a continuing program that was held in August 2020, continued it in January 2021, submitting for event promotional package. Whether you can submit this as one event or whether I need to focus on one or the other. If it's a continuation, if it's not just a repeat, but a continuation of a program, an event basically, then that would fit under that category. And so the thing is, you're limited to three items that you've used to promote that particular event. If it was understood at the beginning that we're going to do one in August because we're just right before just coming off from the range or whatever the case may be, and so nutrition kinds of things, and we're going to continue that in January, that's fine. It's kind of nitpicky as far as whether it's one event or two events, but you're limited to three items, and so it's you have to kind of take that into account. Okay.
Ron, just for clarification there too, if you're dealing with if they have one registration for both of those days for both of those meetings, and you're calling it whatever your cow event is, and it's the same group of people, that's probably the same event.
Right. Yeah,
So,
if it's totally different group of people, then that would be a separate event. That's
and
true.
you're putting out different registration for it,
Yep.
and you're advertising again for it, then it's probably a different event.
Yeah. So just pick one. Yeah. Okay. All right, Brittany, go ahead.
All right, so we're going to get into website submissions, and I'm going to close out of the actual PowerPoint so I can share with you guys two website submissions, the two links right there that are actually pretty decent, pretty good examples. So the biggest thing is when you're thinking about your websites, make sure that it is publicly accessible and that the content does not require a password. We understand sometimes we might get a Canvas login for a Master Gardener course. That is okay. We worked through it this year. We was able to get the password or the login information out to all of the judges, but you just want to make sure that it's something everybody can have access to. Everyone doesn't have Instagram. So if you're going to submit an Instagram page, you have to be mindful, not everyone can get to it. So if I can't get to it, if any of the judges can't get to it, more than likely we might DQ it if it's after the deadline because we don't have time to get you to resubmit it. Again, you want to make sure that you're primarily responsible for the content or the maintenance of the site. You want to make sure that you include your target audience, how many hits. If you're doing a Facebook page, you can access the Facebook analytics and get that information. You want to, how are you doing the marketing? Do you have this also on your unit page? Do you have it on your email address? So you want to make sure that your website is getting as much views as possible with the information that you're going to be sending. And again, if it's a course that charges a fee, you can do a screenshot. And again, all judges have to have access to the page. So I'm going to hit this. And sometimes we've gotten wikis, we've got blogs, we got social media sites. Those items are good. However, an actual website, like, I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me stop sharing the screen.
Are you going to go with the website?
Yes. So I'm going to try to, oops. See, touching too many things at once. All right, so everyone can see this so far, I'm gonna assume.
Now we can see it. Yeah.
Okay. So this is an IPM website. This is an actual, it says blog, but it's an actual website and it's really, really good. And it's a mobile app that you can download and add to your phone also. This is more up to speed as far as website. Here is the Warren County Ag Facebook page. Their page is great. It's a social media site, but yes, they can submit this. You can submit this as a website because it's current content. It's always up to date. Their marketing programs left and right. So even though it's a social media page, they're getting a lot of traffic from the community. All right, now I'm gonna stop sharing again. And I think I go next. So let me switch screens again. See how we've gotten acclimated to all this fun stuff. All right, so again, these are just screenshots of the 2 pages that I shared with you guys. You can see everyone that was included on the website online content. They're listed out here, and then they detailed everything inside their abstract as well. And then this is the same thing for website online content. So moving on into learning module, you want to make sure that it is sent to us by March 15th. So if you're gonna, the learning module, if it's too big for you to download it onto the site, you want to make sure that you send the hard copy to our office. We have to receive it by March 15th. So that way it can be judged. I know this year it was a little crazy. I could personally speak for my office area. Mail was kind of messed up. So some folks had tried to send some stuff early and I never got it. And I still haven't gotten it to this day, but they were able to send it to my house, given, catching that timeline early and COVID situations, but we worked everything out. This is the Canvas website. So this is a learning module. Your Master Gardener Canvas website, I think you should put that under learning module because that's in essence what it is. And then I believe Clemson, South Carolina State did the 4-H at home daily lessons. So that was considered a learning module also. Again, just make sure you detail what's in the abstract and make sure you send it to us on time. And these are how those 2 abstracts look. You guys can also find that information if you go to the awards section of NACAA website. You can click on communications awards or award winners, and you can see who won, and you can have access to their abstracts as well. So I will stop sharing my page, and I think that is it on my end.
Okay, Iris, go ahead and do the bound book ebook. We could change this one just slightly to qualify for those ebooks.
Okay.
I will say on the password thing, if it's requiring a password, it probably fits better into the learning module / notebook as opposed to the website online content.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ron. So this is the bound book category. So we're thinking of these old style books. And so hopefully some of you are still doing those. I think one of the main things with this might be to plan ahead a year or 2 with how you're doing this. Obviously, a book takes a little while to produce. So I like to dive into the scorecard criteria. If you create a flying book, you're definitely going to be a national award winner. No, I'm just kidding. But does the title of the book help the reader understand the content? Is the information useful and timely? Sometimes with a book, you're going for that kind of longevity. Is the information written with your audience in mind and logical, presented? Does it provide enough detail to be able to use the information? Now, one of my tips would be to look at the past awards, see what has won. You can you could order your colleagues' books, help them out that way. Some of these books are actually available on Amazon. And then you can contact past winners for any of these categories. You can contact past winners and get some tips if you're planning ahead. If you're submitting your entry at 11 o'clock at night on March 15th, then you're not really going to be able to reach out there. But so another point for working ahead. This category on the scorecard criteria is worth 25 points. Your content is the main thing. Again, with the chat prompt, I guess this is your homework. I didn't see anyone really putting the scorecard points, but if you go to the website, there's the communication award instructions, but then below that is your scorecard criteria. And all of the categories are in one file. So you have to scroll down. This one's at the very bottom because it's the last category. The second criteria is readability. And so all of your points there. And so just as you're if you are making a book, you know, these are some things to think about of what you're going to get graded with. I mean, some of the other categories, it is easier to kind of adjust to the scorecard criteria. So once you've produced a book, you know, you're kind of, you have what you have. Design and appearance. Here's another photo just kind of showing some design ideas. So get a good layout for your book, get a good designer. Okay. And then you're going to also have the abstract criteria. And were those instructions followed? And then the total points for every category is 100. So just keeping that in mind. And then here's an image of an ebook. So we will judge the ebooks the same way. You have a little bit more leeway with an ebook, because if you can make some adjustments after it's, you know, published, you can update information or format sometimes. So, okay. And I will turn it over to Ron. Back to Ron.
Okay, so let's try to answer some of these questions, and other panelists feel welcome to jump in on these. We've got a question, three promotional methods. Can it be 2 postcards plus a social media post, or one of 3 different methods? And I know it says in there 3 different methods, but I would say 3 different items is fine with that, as opposed to 3 specific different methods. So as long as you've got, if you do 2 postcards and an email blast or something like that, that's fine. Just 3 different items they're used to promote an event. So I will.
Don't mail out the same postcard twice and
Yeah,
call that 2.
That's right. So now back to this question on promoting or recruiting. I kind of, Sarah, on that, my question was in reference to what events are eligible for event promotional package. And my understanding has always been that those events are things you're trying to get people to come to for educational purposes, not if you're promoting a 4-H event, what you're trying to do is promote getting the kids to come to a 4-H event. Otherwise, it would be more of a feature story or a personal article kind of a thing. If a feature story, if you're talking about, we had this great 4-H shooting sports activity, and these are the people that won it, all that kind of stuff, that's a different issue. That's a feature story as opposed to an event. So I hope that clarifies that. Let's see. Let's see. When I emailed it out electronically, do I need to mention how many people in the email list? That wouldn't hurt, Iris. It wouldn't hurt to put down your email list, how many it actually gets to, and those kinds of things. You don't have control over who opens the email, so whether they actually look at it or not. But putting it down there, that would be fine. Doesn't matter which collaborator submits a team newsletter. No, as long as the person who's submitting it is a member of the NACAA, that's fine. And of course there's no such thing as a team newsletter anymore. It's just newsletter. And the reason for that was because in the past, the individual newsletter, my interpretation was that the individual newsletter, that individual is responsible for everything, all the content and everything in that newsletter. But that's not the way they have been judged in the past. The criteria between the 2 categories, team and individual, is exactly the same. It's just a matter of an individual newsletter could have one person responsible for compiling information from other contributors. And so that's why those were combined. Criteria is the same, how well written it is, how well you're communicating, those kinds of things. So the individual can and does compete just as well with the team newsletters. It's not a disadvantage for an individual newsletter. So they're all together now into one category.
Hey, Ron, as far as the collaborator piece for the newsletter, if someone's going to submit a newsletter, let's say Heather submits a newsletter and she wants to add all of us up there as contributing members, even though it's just the overall newsletter, then Heather cannot go back in and submit another newsletter to be judged. So if if you're going to be the one submitting the newsletter and you want to list out other folks that assisted with it, then you cannot submit an additional newsletter just of your own in that category. So be
Right.
mindful of that if you're going to work with others to do things.
Right. Good point. Thank you. Okay. Let's see, I think I answered that one. Let's see. Are there any differences in judging educational videos for videos filmed, edited, etc., solely by the agent versus professionally done? At this point, no. Unfortunately, I understand that point. We had some of my judges at the national level. It's really hard to compare an individual educational video as opposed to something that's done by the university teams, promotional. They've got all the bells and whistles, and so you've done it. You've been a part of it, but they've done all that. We haven't got that fine-tuned yet, and so at this point, if it's a promotional video, that's part of the problem. Is most of those are promotional videos. And so those go into a promotional package, event promotional package, as opposed to the educational videos are going to be typically there may be some editing done by your university people, but they're not the content. You're responsible for putting forth the content and all that kind of thing. And so that's the difference there. We're trying to make it so that promotional videos aren't competing with the educational videos. And hopefully that will kind of pan out and work out really well that way. We'll have to see how it goes this year. And so any other input on?
We had a pretty long discussion on that one, you guys. So we recognize that there is a huge difference. And we really classified this as an educational video. It's, and if your IT group is helping you with your communication department, works on some of those types of things, and you're the main presenter or those types of things, versus the promotion of an activity that's been, produced very well and very high quality. Two different videos that we're trying to get you to move towards.
Right. Okay, next one I've got here is, where does an online interactive course fit into the awards? The course includes course completion surveys, but does require a login to take the course. That would be in your learning module notebook if you're going to do it that way. Otherwise, if it's a specific category thing, you may consider putting it into a search for excellence application as well. Rather than an educational. That's kind of where we get a little bit of an overlap there. That learning module overlaps a little bit with the search for excellence type applications. So personal column question in magazine, don't know that I don't receive the hard copies, but I do receive PDFs of the published columns. Okay, so I'm going to throw this one out to the committee here. This is from Sarah Cornelise. Let's see, my personal column appears in a magazine. I don't receive the hard copies, but I do receive PDFs of the published column. Will those PDFs be accepted? So my question, is that a PDF of the actual published column thing? And then we get into these electronic publications now too. And so what do you think, committee?
If we can see that it was published somewhere, that's kind of the take home behind the personal columns and having that PDF file. We need to see that it actually went into the newspaper or it went into that magazine. So if they're just showing you a black and white PDF of how it's going to be laid out for your approval in the magazine without the surrounding ads or other articles or the date and page number and all of that, that's going to be, I'm going to almost say no on that one. I opened up for conversation with the committee on that one. But if you can ask them or request, a screenshot of that page, if you need a cut sheet from every newspaper I work with in the state of South Dakota, if I ask for a cut sheet of my ad that I post, they can send me an electronic view of that page. So hopefully they'd be able to do a cut sheet type situation of your column to show that it was published in that publication so that we can see that layout.
And you can always go to the newspaper website and just, if you go to newspaper website, you can get a screenshot of the page with your article published, and it'll have the date, all the information that we need, because we're really looking for when it was actually circulated out in the newspaper or whatever article or magazine. What was the issue? Those are the like the volume issue. Those are the things that we're really looking for to justify that it was circulated out. I mean, we have an honor system, but we just want to make sure we cross all our T's and dot all our I's.
Another thing that we're looking at in that is what kind of editing, have they made any editing changes from your original submission to what they've actually published? That's another thing to kind of look at. Not that that really doesn't have any basis on the judging itself, and maybe we have to look at that in the future, but that just kind of, it's just another thing that we kind of look at with on that. Okay, hopefully that's clarified that for you, Sarah. Order 0 for primary author. That's back on the website kind of a thing. Scott, yeah, primary author is 0, right? And then
Oh, yeah.
when you submit it, yeah, the primary authors, it's I've done a few and it's fairly self-explanatory. So hopefully that'll help, Paula. Yeah. Okay. Fact sheet and publication both asks for number distributed. Many of our documents are digital. We don't distribute copies. Yeah, that's always a tough one because I've done a whole bunch of fact sheets and it's really hard to track those. Although we do, the Utah State, they did have a way of kind of tracking how many were actually downloaded, but then you know how many of those were copied and handed out to a class, or those kinds of things. It's really hard to do. So yeah, that's fine. It's not a big criteria kind of a thing. Number of page visits, that would be helpful. That kind of information. Anything you can do to kind of help see, so we can see that yes, it's getting some traction. That will help with on your abstract if you put that in there. Sarah, for event promotional package, can it be on how you promoted a 4-H team? Again, 3 different means of promoting. Again, this is not, that's more of a feature article thing to me, Sarah, not a promotional event that you're promoting. You're promoting a person, place, or thing is a feature article. And so,
Well, we could, if they're looking up to try to get people to participate, like, so same way, like I use the meets judging team as an example in my thing. If you're or judging contest. So if you're trying to advertise to get people to sign up for your team, which is an event, you know, every practice that you have on every Tuesday and every Thursday, it's the same kids coming, it's the same event, then you could maybe make that work if you're advertising for your shooting sports team to participate. And this is what 4-H is. So you create a flyer, you create a poster, you put it out in your newsletter or however you have that go out. Then if you're talking about creating that event, it might fit. If you're talking about featuring the team at their championships, at their state tournament or their state shoot, that doesn't count because that's featuring the team later. So if you're trying to advertise an event and promote the program, or not promote the program, not your whole shooting sports program, and we use the word program instead of events in South Dakota. So I'm sorry I crossed the words. But if you have an event going on, then try to advertise that event. Okay, so try not to get too lost in the weeds on, you know, what is an event, and look at it that way and see if that helps answer your question as you think about the promotion package category.
okay. Hopefully that helps, Sarah. I'm not sure if we're making it muddier or cleaner. I hope we're making it cleaner for you. All right, David Maris, in the past National Communications Awards chair, I'm not sure he's answering. Sometimes your publication unit can make a cleaner PDF for you. We've seen that in the past where printing from your browser may kick the non-discriminatory statement to its own page. I'm not sure
That's
exactly
a
what.
4 or 5 page question there.
Yeah,
Yeah. 4 pages.
4 pages. We'll make it 4 pages. All right, for website, what about access with a link? As long as you don't have, as long as you don't have to have a password, the link, the URL should be in your abstract anyway, so that they can go to that abstract, so to the website. And so website, that's what you want, access with a link. You don't, that's how we would get to it.
And don't, for your for the website, don't post in your abstract YouTube how to tie your shoe video. That's not the URL. There could be 15 other videos like that about how to tie your shoe. So make sure you send us your URL, include it in your abstract so we know exactly where we need to go.
Right, needs to be a live link. Yeah, or at
Ron,
least the same link, and you can copy and paste it.
Can I bring up a question from Shane?
Sure.
So I accidentally clicked on the live answer button, so that's why I wanted to make sure this one got answered. But he said he's written a 900-word article, which he says is about 3 pages without photos, about an insect pest. It was only published on their university extension website. And he wanted to know if this would qualify for website content. My suggestion is it's probably a fact sheet if it's less than 5 pages. But I wondered what you guys would say to Shane.
Sounds like a fact sheet to me.
It was created in a fact sheet format.
Well, it sounds like a publication, except it's not 5 pages. And so,
So then it goes down to fact sheet side
So,
if it's only a single topic.
yeah, and one issue we may want to look at in the future is, our fact sheets and publications, are they peer reviewed? Because that's not something that has actually been addressed in our criteria, but that's something we'll have to look at in the future. It's nothing that will affect this year.
I think some publications could be, in the future, we might want to have it be less than 5 pages, possibly. But for now, it has to be 5 pages because that's what it says.
It's got to be 5 or more, because we get people that will put fact sheets into publications just because there are fewer people to judge against sometimes. And so now we want to keep that publications. I know we all have different terminology at our different universities, but that's how we'll define them. Fact sheets.
So back to Shane's question. I mean, if he wasn't the webmaster, he published something, it went on that website, it's not judged under the website category, because the website category would be like if you're creating a whole website for a program or a content or something like that.
Right. It would be a fact sheet. Now, fact sheets don't have to be paper; they can be digital like that. So,
well, and the website component, it needs to be your website, not just an article on a website.
Right.
So that might clean some of that up a bunch.
You have to be responsible for the content of that website, kind of a thing. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So now, is a story map a website or a learning module? I have no idea even what a story map is. So.
It's where you could take like Google Maps and put some pins for some different locations. So like we have one for our food system here of different points on a map. So the person who created that website, I would count that as a website. But if you're just using somebody else's format for a map, I don't think that sounds like a website.
Okay. Let's see. Includes all the items Heather mentioned. I include a link to the full publication in the abstract as well.
If you could put a PDF link or a link and then tell us exactly what page that's on, if you can't do a screenshot of the page and make that a PDF, that would be ideal, so that we don't have our judges sifting through and missing your article or something like that.
We want to make this as easy for the judges as possible.
Yeah. Because they're going
Please.
through a ton of these, you guys. So
And a number of these judges are not NACAA people. They're people out in the community, and so we want to make sure that's as easy as possible. So don't
and
hide.
donating their time.
Yes, they are.
So
Okay.
if you can do a screenshot of that publication and turn that into a PDF instead of having a link included, that would be much better than just the link.
And anytime you guys can include links in your abstracts, please do.
Yes,
That helps out a great deal also.
it does. Now this one, Katie, want to talk. Same material should not be used for multiple categories. Yes, absolutely. If you're going to do an educational video, you don't want to have to be an audio recording as well, or a
Computer graphics.
computer graphics generated with script, or you don't want the audio recording to also be a podcast, okay, that you'll do in the website online content kind of a thing. And so definitely, if we see the same material in 2 different categories, we'll probably disqualify both of them. We don't know which one you want to be in, so we would just, so only one category, one item, submit, decide which category it would fit in best, and submit it there. Now, in the future, you say you've got a video and it becomes part of a learning module. That's fine. That's actually part of a learning module sometime down the future, but don't put them into the same, don't double dip that same year.
And but just to reiterate, Ron, but somebody could enter more than one category with
Oh,
separate
yes.
items.
Right. Okay, so the disqualification, I think we kind of had a question there as far as if you were a national winner last year in educational videos, you cannot submit into educational videos this next year. That's the national winners are disqualified from the next year. And so if you are a national winner in a category last year, please do not submit, because I got to go through and check those. Please do not submit that into the category for this year. Choose a different category. You know, a lot of people are doing a great job out there. We really appreciate everything that you're doing. So hopefully that's answered the question. Now we're back to this one question that I didn't really quite answer. Will a PDF or presentation work that has the links to the recorded trainings? That almost sounds more like a learning module to me. So presentation, the computer generated presentations with script, and then you have links to the recorded trainings. Again, that throws that almost into a learning module kind of a thing, as opposed to a presentation with the script. We want to try to be comparing apples to apples and not apples to oranges. So I think, Brian, that's where I would do that. See if that would fit into that learning module as opposed to. Another thing we're trying to work on this next year, we'll try to get something where there's a number of oddball things that kind of come through. Great projects, great communication things that we're doing, interpretive signs and those kinds of things that don't fit into any of these categories. And so we're trying to come up with something that would fit, that we could put these other newer types of things that we do. Okay, is there ever an opportunity to see our score sheets after judging is complete? That kind of depends, I guess, on how the state, regional, and national chairs are doing it.
I could take a stab at that if you want.
Go ahead.
I know for Virginia, what I told my folks is if you want to see your score sheet, you can request it and I will send it to you. But because there's so many people that we judge, I wasn't just going to send out a mass email of the score sheet. So just reach out to your state chair, your regional chair, and I guess score sheets are available upon request.
That's a good point. Okay.
I don't always get score sheets from all of my or written score sheets. You know, they might come in an email and it's all one great big just list of points. So there might not be a lot of score sheets to get either. So it's all going to depend on your judge and what they choose to send to me.
Okay. All right. We got another question from Anna. can you give some tips on how to decide whether to put a website into the website or learning module category, please? The entire site I have in mind was built for the purpose of hosting the educational content for our
Mhm.
Master Gardener class. We had originally thought website because we were really proud of the functionality and layout of it.
I can do that with two if you want, because we're doing that right now. We've done the Master Gardener class via Canvas, so that needs to go under a learning module. A couple of my cohorts are probably going to be submitting that, and go ahead and put that under learning module.
Yeah, if especially if it requires a password, something educational, you've got to get in, people have got to get in and they're using it as part of their educational for the Master Gardeners, and that would be a learning module type situation. The big thing with the website, online content, it is public access. Anybody can get into it. Anybody can see it. And so if the part of that content is not public access, then that kind of makes it kind of a little bit difficult. So yeah, very good. Thanks, Brittany. Okay, oh, let's see. Let's see, question on links, Brian's. Is links to a video site related to the videos too large to attach? Link, sending links. I'm still having a hard time, Jay Craig, on answer. Is the question, Brian's, is links to a video site related to the videos too? So if the video is too large to attach, then by all means, yes, absolutely. The link to the video needs to be in the abstract. So I guess that's what the question's asking. Yeah, we don't need to actually see the actual, hopefully your videos are on a server somewhere. If it's an actual video on a VHS, you'll have to send a machine with it as well to watch, because who has VHS anymore, right? Or if you got a DVD or something like that. Yeah, so if it's the educational videos, the link, definitely, we don't necessarily need to have the video itself downloaded or uploaded to the server. Matter of fact, most of them will be too big to do that. So then the link to that, so that the judges can watch it. And keep in mind that it is one educational videos, no more than 15 minutes, kind of a thing. Be sure you read that, the guidelines on that. The audio recordings is one audio recording. Don't send me two or I'll disqualify them. Okay.
One video recording, don't send me 7. It's
Yeah, that's right. One video recording, one. Okay.
one video recording.
So, okay, here's a good one for the committee here. Can I submit a Canvas course as a learning module and a PowerPoint within that as a computer generated presentation with script, I'm assuming? So both categories, is that double dipping? Heather, you're the one that talked about double dipping.
So you have a Canva course that you put online and you want to enter that as a learning module. And within that learning module is a PowerPoint that you gave. That's the way I'm understanding this question. So you have a PowerPoint that's part of a learning module. It's in Canva. You're teaching a course that way. And you also want to take that PowerPoint and enter it as the computer generated with all the words. Since it's part of content of that learning module, to me, this starts to feel like a double dip. You did one thing of work and you're trying to advertise or get recognized for it in 2 spots. It'd be like using a, if you had a website for your event promotion and you entered it as part of your event promotion and your website, that's one piece of work in 2 spots. I think that's a double dip. You must have done an amazing PowerPoint somewhere that you could enter that one instead.
Okay. So sounds kind of like double dipping to me, Bonnie. All right. So now, Phyllis, submission for website mainly because the information was originally created for a blog. They don't have, the submitter doesn't have the ability to edit the content of the actual website. So that fits into that online content portion of that category, Phyllis. I believe we could be comfortable with that one being in that same category because it's not necessarily the website, but it is the online content. The blog, you do have responsibilities for that particular thing. So as a committee agree with that? If I'm understanding the question correctly.
That sounds right to me, Ron. Can I show you the story map for a little more discussion real quick?
If you would like to, sure.
Okay. Let me share my screen. Not the right one. Okay, hold on. Stop share. Got too many windows open. Because I think this one is website content, but okay. So it looks like a cover crops virtual field day. Can you see that?
Yeah.
And so this is the story map with the pins, but this looks like online content. Heather, what do you think about this one?
Is our title on, we need to have a web page, right?
Well, yeah, it's just this is a story map that Sarah was asking about.
So you click on each one of those, it'll take you a different place and different content on that particular different place.
So this almost looks more like the Canvas type of thing.
Say, is this a learning module more because it's the virtual field day? I mean, this is like if you were at the, instead of going to the class,
yeah, this almost looks like a learning module to
Well,
me.
so to me, learning module is something where you take a class and, you know, it's almost a designed curriculum kind of a thing. A field day, I can see where this one would fit into the online content. As you know, as far as a story map, you could go to the different locations and it's got information and photos on each one of those.
Website online content is what we're thinking.
I would think.
Ah,
what do you think?
Did I lose you guys?
Heather, do you
No.
think?
So yeah, if you look at the website category, it does say online content. So publicly accessible, doesn't require a password. The person primarily responsible for content design and maintenance of the site or online content.
So in that case, before I would say one or the other, if it was a learning module, did somebody lead through the different pins as you walked through it? You know, were we teaching about the different spots and now click on this, even if it's recorded and you know, whatever that recording was up in the corner, I could maybe see that avenue. If it's just put publicly available as a self-paced web page, online information, then maybe that would be the spot for it.
Looks to me like it's kind of a self-guided tour.
Okay, so maybe that does fit as your online content.
So Sarah says it was held live and then posted as self-paced. So again, I think that you're still looking at that. Yeah, I still think you're looking at online content on that one.
I think it should go in online content, but if you were to do that other category like learning module, you need to make a good argument in your abstract for why it does fit that category, I would say.
Yeah, reread through the abstract requirements and the requirements of the learning module. But I could see leaning towards the web content at this point, unless you told me some really good reasons.
Thanks
Okay.
for giving us a tough one at the end, Sarah.
Yeah.
Right. Really nail that one home.
That's the challenge we face. People come up with these really great things, and man, sometimes it's kind of a challenge. Okay, well, I think that's all we've got, Scott. If there's anything else, I will indicate also that these presentations, that you will be sent an evaluation. All those who participated in this seminar will be sent an evaluation from NACAA, and they will be recorded. So if you want to go back and review, you can hold our feet to the fire. You said this. No. So anyway, they'll be recorded, and hopefully I'll give you some clarification, and we'll have really, really good competition we have every year with our communications awards. So thank you again. Anything else, Scott?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Have a good day, everybody.